Yeah, I'm all good. I'm going to lean in and give you good audio and terrible video.
It's fantastic. I literally have said from the very beginning of even our sports broadcast stuff, it's like, dude, I was born face for radio.
Whatever, radio face.
Exactly. It's like, everyone's like, why do you like to work out so much? I'm like, have you seen this? It's like, man, if I didn't have everything else going, there was no way I was going to get a date in college.
I got to bring something. I got to bring something, baby. I got to bring something.
So it's all you got, man.
It is all I have. It really is. Face for radio. It's perfect. So, this is, free flow, free thought, anything you want to, it's fair game.
And most of it will be edited out in post.
None of it will be edited out in post.
I make no representations.
I am tempted to start superimposing the Mandalorian's helmet on everyone, however, because that apparently seems to be like the key to all of the internet right now.
Well, I want to be Baby Yoda, not the Mando.
Okay, so the child.
He's got a great life.
I'm working on Baby Yoda. And I would definitely eat baby frogs.
I was going to say baby frogs. Yeah, like I got Baby Yoda bod going. Like just see it, eat it, and keep on moving.
Yeah,
yes.
eat weird things.
And I'll eat anything. So
and then force choke a bunch of other food to put in your face as well.
Force choking food.
Or to hold people off when you got something really good.
Right. Well, like that last episode, I was kind of laughing because like, God, I wish I could do that in traffic. Like just where it's like, oh, this car just like poof, and slide to the side and thunk, slide to the side. And or the ones that don't stop at the stop signs, just take the hand and go crunch and force them to stop at the stop sign. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, since we live on the West Coast here and you've got Washington drives one way, Oregon drives another, and California drives a third, I would just have to say that our roads are a shit show.
That's a lot coming from you, considering the amount of global exposure you've had to shit shows. Which, actually, that's an easy toss-up. So, a little bit of background on you. Former, or retired technically,
Yep.
Army Cobra pilot.
That's correct.
Okay, and you have been in and around all sorts of areas on the planet, flying really, really fast, really, really low with things that go bang.
True. Also, there's a lot less traffic jams in the sky, and when they are there, you got to be a little more careful.
Ouch.
Less fender benders, more fatals.
Yep, the fender benders I've been in have not ended well, usually with 7 vials of blood and a whole bunch of pee in bottles.
That's just not a normal Saturday night for most people.
I got to follow this up.
Yeah, so basically we've got our retired Cobra pilot and our commercial real estate pirate.
Yeah, exactly. No, my background was in construction. I was an architect for a while and been doing industrial real estate development for the last 20 years. Less blood in bottles and just more heavy drinking to deal with anguish.
And apparently not drinking and driving, otherwise you might know what that bottle looks like.
Not saying anything about that.
Take a fifth. This is being recorded. Thank you very much. No, this is awesome because, you guys, we were talking about this, the last couple of weeks too, but the whole point of this is like, hey, let's get a bunch of different types of people that are have made fitness a part of their lifestyle. Maybe not necessarily the only thing they do, but a complementary thing they do, or something that is built around enhancing all of the other things that they do in the real world, not just the gym world. So I kind of mentioned this to a couple people earlier this week. They're like, "Oh, who are you going to talk to Friday?" I'm like, "Well, I think I'm going to get Kyle and Chris in here." And they're like, "Yes, the kettle-belly boys." I'm like, "Yes." We got the 2 lead singers from our kettle-belly boy band.
We can represent. I'm very, very certain.
Yeah, I got the equipment.
Yeah, no, the standard operating equipment is lots of fitness, strength, maybe cardio once in a blue moon,
if you have to,
and a healthy appetite for things that are fun.
The finer things in life, right?
Yeah. The finer things in life. Yeah. No, but really, like it's. I was talking to Leo because he was pretty excited. He's like, I can't wait to hear what they have to say. I'm like, I can pretty much tell you what it's going to say. We lift and sometimes show up accidentally on breathing days so that we don't have heart attacks, and we can just kind of keep going and keep playing the game.
I'm actually amazed at Kyle's ability to avoid the breath days. I mean, to be honest, it is a skill, and I know on Bro Science, they talk about being able to miss leg day.
Yes.
Oh, he's there for leg day.
Oh, I love leg day.
Oh my God, he's missed every breath day possible.
Every breath they pop. That is, yeah, you do a pretty good job of that. I mean, it's anything over 4 reps is obviously cardio.
Well, the trick is to have spies in the 6:30 class. So you got to get insider information. You never play the game fair.
Well, and you've always been more on the powerlifting end of the spectrum and more of a weight guy. And know, Chris, I'm presuming those helicopters aren't for the faint of heart or the non-fit. I'm thinking you got the majority of your running out while you were serving.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's only so many Saturdays when your dumb mind gets up and says, I think I'm going to run 12 miles so that next week isn't so bad.
All of that sounds terrible.
For me, it was terrible. I've always been a little bit on the heavier side, and running hurts.
Yeah, you could just make the helicopter go faster, right? Like, why do you need to run?
Well, exactly. And, there is a problem, though, in the Cobra. It's only 38 inches wide.
Ew.
And so you do have to be able to fit in it.
It's polar bear non-compliant is what we're saying.
No.
There is one advantage, though. Because everything's closed in, on hot days, you do have air conditioning as long as you don't over-temp it. The minute you over-temp it, you got to shut the air conditioning off, and then you're just suffering.
So there's no windows down, really, but you can kind of open the windows and just fly faster?
No windows.
Oh, wow.
You can just fly faster so you get back so you can get the hell out.
So you just
get it done.
Well, I mean, we talk a lot in here, different types of, and I mean, like talking with Leon, I mean, we've done, doing a 10K, doing all kinds of, I mean, I got to think that's kind of like running a marathon, having to work that piece of equipment for a prolonged period of time in a very hot sandbox.
Yes. I mean, anytime you're stuck in a hot environment, and you're suffering, it's going to suck. The good news is usually once you get rid of the weight by firing it, then you lighten up and things loosen up and you can get the air conditioning back on.
See, I like that kind of methodology. It's like, oh, how do I get this done faster? Just empty the...
Get lighter.
Get lighter and move fast. Did you feel the fatigue when you were working, or was it like after? Like, because obviously you got a lot of things to mentally process in that moment. Is it something where you're tracking like, gosh, I'm really tired, or, fuck, let's rock?
No. When you're flying, it's a blast, and it's got your full attention, and you're having fun. I mean,
right.
Nobody got into flying because they thought it was boring.
Yeah.
But what it hits you is you realize when you put the helicopter down, you got to regas. You only got a few hours to fly at one time before you take a break and then do it again. Is that the noise is so tiring that afterwards you get really tired.
Interesting.
Kind of more mental fatigue, just being in a loud, intense environment.
Yeah, well, and it's why I can't hear half of the jokes around here, because I've lost not most, but a good portion of my hearing.
Not because they're bad, but just because I can't actually hear them. Can you say that again? Thank you.
It's the same jokes. We recycle them. There's nothing new. There's no new material there.
It did take me a month or two to get into the swing of which jokes we were going with and where you were sourcing your material from.
As we promptly
Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah. The source of material was the 70s, the 80s, and 90s. Thank you, Alex. Rest in peace. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me, but it's fascinating because like Deanna was in here a week or two ago and kind of talking about the same thing, like when she's working, busy at the hospital and working shifts, just dumping buckets, and when she's busy, fine, and can keep running that fuse all the way, and then it's as soon as she stops, it's just like crash and sometimes burn.
Yeah.
Well, that's usually when we used to drink a lot, but
Interesting. So yeah, I mean, obviously now you don't have that same kind of lifestyle.
No,
you're a little more slower paced.
Boring.
I didn't want to say boring.
No, it's not that my life is boring, but if somebody 25 looked at my life, they'd say, "Damn, that's boring."
Well, I mean, it's a big monumental shift as you get older too, because your body. I mean, I can imagine that maybe one time you could probably replicate a good shift behind the stick, but to stretch them together like you did back in the day, probably. What's the Toby Keith song? Good once as I ever was. Right, like one day you could probably put that together, but stringing all 18 months together probably isn't in the wheelhouse today.
No, we're not going to be going out and trying to put as many together as we can.
Yeah.
But when we do get to put them together, we have a little bit of fun, and then let the young people take over.
I tested that theory this summer. A buddy of mine had a a new house, and it was I would call it a garage habit trail that the previous owner built, and he's just like, hey bro, I need your help. And it was a full day of old school swinging nails, running saws.
Nice.
And 95 degrees outside, so about 110 in a nasty ass west facing garage.
In the polar bear seat.
Right. Yeah, instead of 190-pound Kyle, it was full polar bear actual. And I was, I guess, somewhat pleased that I was able to keep after it for a whole day of heavy framing type work. But oh boy, the next 2 days they hurt. Yeah. No. And again, when you're 19, it's like, hey man, that's Tuesday. You're doing the same thing Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday,
Saturday. Yeah.
Maybe Saturdays.
It's always like at the beginning of the hiking season when we go do our first 8-mile hike followed by a 5 or 6 mile hike, and the next day or two after that you're like, whoa. And then I think that was the most fun we had this year, as we went and did some insane hiking for a week since we couldn't go anywhere because of COVID.
Right.
And we didn't hurt as bad after 7 months of working out more regularly.
Yeah, just kind of maintaining versus trying to rebuild from zero and keep going is a little bit easier than start, stop.
I'm not going to say there weren't moments where I wanted to chuck it in and there was pain, but it was just shorter-lived pain.
Hey, man, there's pain every day.
There's pain every day. We just deaden the sensors and stop paying attention to it. Well, and that's kind of an interesting thing because the long game, you look on social media, and we talk about this all the time, is like it's full of young people. It's like, talk to me when you've had 3 kids, a mortgage, 2 jobs, overtime, like keeping it going, and then stay in the game into your 50s, or longer, and it's going to be interesting to see, especially the CrossFit crowd, because you've got the lifting background, you've got the I would say extreme functional fitness background is generally what I look at military side is like,
extreme function.
Yeah, hey, 100 pounds, carry it over there now, do it 500 more times, and if you complain, it's burpees and push-ups.
And help me lift this ammo box, please.
And help me lift this ammo box, yeah. But it's like, all it does is just grind you into a pulp, and then because they've got 10 more guys coming up the chain right behind you, because everybody wants to fly what you're flying, and you're disposable. Kind of. And so it's like
consumable.
That's probably a better way to put it. Yeah.
I think the military certainly looks at the pilots as the cheaper part. The aircraft is one thing, and then there's pilots. I can replace the pilot.
Can't replace the bird.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and it's an interesting mindset, right? Because then you get the folks that have only ever either been in fitness or only ever been maybe collegiate athletics, only ever been in sport, and then they don't know what to do when they hit 40 or 30 or whatever, when that mileage catches up, right? And they start breaking down, and then they can't operate at 100 miles an hour every day. And how do you compress that into tomorrow and the next day and just keep going?
Well, I actually think the worst was, when your kids are really little, you're chasing after them and you're keeping some level of fitness. But then when they become teenagers and you can't find them, then the fitness just craters.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and keeping up with teenagers, good Lord. I think you witnessed Ryan Bertelsen crossing me.
Yeah.
And now it's long
the
gone.
The nanosecond they become independently mobile, not just like at age 2 when they can walk but like when they're 16, it's like, can I borrow the car? And they're gone. It's like, oh dear God, the entire game just changed. And it's like a wholly different fatigue. Yeah. Even with Gabby, it's like, I'm not physically as tired running around after her. New knee helps. But the mental fatigue of, oh, great, she's going to be 10 this year, which means I'm 5 years from a permit. I'm 6 years from a car. The stress level goes even higher because it's like you got to give them that chance to go fly, but then it's like,
Well, then you get that phone call at 12:30 when they said, yeah, Dad, we lost the key. We don't know where it is. Here's where we are.
At the top of a mountain.
Yeah.
Can you come get us?
Yeah.
I almost wonder if it was better back in the day before cell phones, because it was just like, oh, hey, I didn't hear from him. I wonder what was going on.
I'm sure it's fine. Yeah. No, the come home before dark thing is no longer a thing. It's, because it's dark at 4:30, but, the digital tether, everybody's always reachable.
Well, I think one of the crazy cool things about Lake Oswego is my kids used to ride their bikes to elementary school.
Right.
And there was a slippery day, and one of the kids went over the handlebars. He didn't say a word to anybody. a parent was driving a car, saw him, knew who my kid was, called the school and said, Cody went ass over tea kettle. See if he's okay when he gets to school. School called us. So before it even got to the school, we knew. And turned out he was fine, and he kept doing his day.
Is he still bleeding? No, put him in class then.
That's right.
He's good to go.
It's a different mindset, and especially with COVID, it's like, I'm assuming next year, like next 2021, the kids will have opportunities to go do that again when nobody's able to go anywhere right now. But the world is radically different than when all of us were little.
My! Let's talk about risk tolerance.
Yeah,
and the lack of it. I was just thinking about bike crashes. I remember in the 5th grade, I would ride my bike to football practice and went. But just lost it over a curb, went over the top, did the full Superman. I remember there was a point in time where it's like I see myself flying. It's like the landing is coming. Good news is I had the helmet on the head. Otherwise, my chin would look remarkably different. But you pick the gravel up out of your hands and yell and scream and get back on the bike and go to football practice.
And you keep going, right?
You keep going. There wasn't another option. It was either go home or go to football practice.
Football's more fun than going home.
Football's way more fun than going home.
And of course, if you miss football practice, you're not going to play. So
exactly.
There we go.
Right. Yeah. Cost and benefit analysis there is obviously I want to play, so this hurts and I'm uncomfortable. Bleeding getting to practice probably sets quite the tone for the practice, though.
It does. I just squeaked out Fat Larry, and I wasn't letting him get that spot back. Fuck that.
And it's so funny. I mean, you've got obviously your boys. Youngest is a senior this year, right?
Yeah. It's hard to believe, actually.
And your youngest just finished. Well, is in the middle of sophomore year of college.
Correct.
So like we've kind of all been in the circuit, seen the show, get the way that it's supposed to go, get the way that it worked for us.
It's the way it went. I don't know if it was supposed to go that way, but it did go that way, and the results are pretty good.
Well, you've got well-adjusted, air quotes, well-adjusted for anybody listening, audio only. Careful. It's like well-adjusted children that are additive functional members of society. We'll put it that way.
Look, they're not on the inside looking out. How about that?
Right.
And it's a little early, so we can't really judge quite yet.
The jury's somewhat out.
Let's not ink that. Let's keep that in pencil.
But it's kind of interesting that like the flip side of that, we've all seen it with a bunch of other parents that sometimes it's their first kid, and so they're trying to do I've heard the term helicopter parent is kind of eschewed away from, instead of the over hovering, it's now the bulldozer parent of I'm just going to move all the obstacles out of your way.
My favorite thing is somebody told me once that about the week before my first kid was born, realized that right at this moment you are the best parent you're ever going to be.
Because they're not on the ground yet.
It is all downhill from here.
Well, I noticed a very different approach between 1 and 2. I think if we had a third kid, it would have been totally feral. It would have looked like that little monster from Road Warrior with the looked like Chaka or something
from Thunderdome. Yeah. Master Blaster.
I'm not sure I could teach a third child how to drive.
That puts some age on you.
And that's the thing, right? Too. But then, what's the third child learning from the first two? It's like, okay, are they gonna survive, or are the other two gonna eat the little one? Because that's kind of how it goes in the pack.
Judging by what we're able to buy at Costco right now, the third one would be definitely at risk.
Trying to put that together, and then at the same time trying to like instill in them the obviously you would never say it yourselves, but you guys work really fucking hard, and you have a strong work ethic in the gym, which I think a lot of that stuff translates outside the gym, because you want to do well. Not that you want to necessarily beat somebody, you're totally competitive, like I want to beat you. It's more you just want to improve on yourself.
No, I want to beat you.
Every single time.
Only at everything.
Well, and see, that's that competitive drive, right? And you can't do that, and you can't teach that to the next gen, or even work through it yourself if you don't put yourself out there with a little bit of that risk of like, oh, I could lose too,
right?
And then how do I deal with it? And that's been something that's been hard to watch with a lot of this COVID and the closures and all the social unrest and everything. It's like there's people that are out there working hard to try to make things happen for the whole. There's people that are out there working hard trying to make things happen for themselves, and there's probably a third group that's out there, maybe not working hard, but trying to get over on the other group to get themselves ahead, kind of like the rats crawling out of the sinking ship.
Yeah, and it's certainly been a tough year just because watching all the kids that we've played sports with work so hard to put themselves in position for a scholarship or even just to be on a team. Even maybe they're not even looking for money; they're just looking for wanting to play, and have all of that wiped off the map for the last 9 months, 10 months.
Yeah, that's a shit sandwich. There's just no other way
there's
around
just less
it.
suck.
Yeah. I think you raised a really good point on motivation and it kind of what's your risk tolerance, and you start to realize later in life there's all the crazy shit you did as a kid that was a physical risk, and then later in life are there business risks, are there personal risks, and and it's just learning to manage that. What are intelligent risks to take, and how do you teach your kids how to step into that, and also find what's comfortable for you. You can get in positions, particularly in the business world, where you're just you're up at 2 a.m, you're driving yourself nuts, and that's not the right place to be. But then at the same time, if you're not pushing it a little, I don't think personally I'm not happy, and I think you're not seeing that maximum effort, and I think rolling it back into fitness, it's like you gotta try different things. Go do things that are uncomfortable. It's like, hey, you've never pushed that weight before. It's like, do it. Mitigate the risk. Have spotters, and prepare for it. Talk with. Have a plan, but for me, that's just it's all about that motivation, that drive. I mean, you look at guys like Jocko and or even what's Goggins.
Goggins.
Oh God, yeah, Goggins. And what I like about Goggins is here's a dude who's absolute savage, right?
Insane, awesomely insane.
But at the same time, I think he has all those same inner conversations that we do. It's like, get out of bed, you fucking pussy, you piece of shit, And it's just you're sitting there Saturday morning going, oh, I'm so happy, but. I don't want to get up and go make these old bones ache again, but I guess I find it inspiring when it's somebody who's at such a high level as that still has that same internal conversation,
the same conflict kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And those are guys that, for those that don't, you've seen Goggins stuff. He's legitimately probably somewhat crazy. Cameron Haynes, another one too, right?
Yeah.
Those guys just grind, and it's not that they do it because they hate themselves.
There's got to be a little bit of that.
A little bit of self-loathing in there, but it's been wired in their DNA now. Goggins is fascinating because he's the one. If anybody didn't know, it's like his background. He was, as far as military standards, obese. He was a big dude, and he just literally chiseled himself into what he is now. And it's,
he's just a specimen.
He is, and he's a mental specimen. The guy can just do and say, Cameron Haynes, same thing. Jocko, but that inner conversation, and what your head's saying, and then how are you responding to it? Is it constructive or destructive? Some might say that overtraining is destructive, and Goggins is paid for that because he's had some injuries. As you
hit 50, you start to learn what a recovery day is.
Exactly.
I didn't know what that was when I was 21.
Right.
You're not quite as swole, but you're still moving.
I'm pretty swole around the
middle. swole in certain sections. Yeah, a little mass moves mass. We're good with that.
Exactly.
But that's the perfect bridge into because you came, not to age you, but it's just because my exposure growing up to fitness was via my dad, and Dad was a fucking savage. Fucking. Construction. Same my grandpa. Grandpa was Navy, worked for PGE for 44 years. Climbing poles, right? Dad was in heavy construction, electrical. But man, you get in the gym and be like, cool. By the time warm-ups are done, there's 5 plates on the freaking bench press, and they're just repping it out with all of his guys. It's like, holy shit, right? And I'm looking at that, and he's making me do push-ups because it's I was doing functional fitness before it had a name, because Dad's like, you got no business being under this if you can't do that. So pull-ups, push-ups, dips, flexibility.
He had the idea of a sequence.
A little bit, and also like, hey, you got to have this base to start with. Part of it, I think was I had to earn my stripes a little bit just to lift with them, and then I realized real fast how much I very much dislike bench press.
Come on.
At any kind, at any time, like ever. Probably because I could never keep up. But I mean, that's kind of you're a lifty guy. You're a powerlifting guy.
For sure.
You're not a marathon guy.
No, and it was call it a Montessori fitness background. I literally had little to no function, real training. I think kind of started, if anyone from the Portland area remembers the River's Edge Athletic Club. Yeah. And, parents got a membership there, and it wasn't like, okay, this is what we're going to do. It's just like, there's the machines.
Right.
Go figure it out,
figure it the fuck out.
Yeah, it was literally Montessori, just kind of fumble, figure it out, drop weights on your, just all the dumb shit you can do. But, that kind of started at least the interest, that started the sickness maybe for me.
Well, you like that gravity battle. I mean, you like to lift.
For sure.
But it wasn't by accident, but it's, kind of that linear, like, I don't know, for kids, it's a tough thing to try to get them to understand. It's like, hey, things are going to hurt, but that's a good thing. You get to where you look forward to it sometimes because the payback on the back end, especially if you're an athlete, is like, hey, if it sucks hard in the gym, the game's going to be way more fun.
Right.
And then the other thing too is gravity is universally applied to everybody. Like, you can just get stronger. There's no like, oh, there's a cheat code. I can just turn the gravity down and I'll outlift you. It's like, no, you just got to put the time in. Like, you have to earn it. And that's, it's something that like, it's hard to translate today because you get so many. You
got to put in the reps, bro.
Yeah,
there's no other way. You got to put in the reps.
And anytime anybody ever has a PR, it's like, they'll be like, oh, I'm so glad I did this because of you, or somebody else that they're working. I'm like, no. Remember, you did the work.
Yeah.
Like, you picked up the weights. You chose to show up. You might also chose to, shove a cheeseburger in your face. All the same choice thing, but. You are choosing, you get to do it, and it's kind of like, as things seem super out of control right now, where people have no choice, businesses are closed, restaurants are closed, there's so many things being taken away. It's like, you still got the choice to go be fit. You still
I guess you could go run if you wanted to.
Why?
and where? Like, there's cars out there.
Exactly.
And rain. And other runners. And people judging your speed and your slowness. Yeah.
Yeah, but you put enough time on a ski erg and running actually starts looking attractive.
Right. Yeah. The ski erg is the only thing worse than the ski erg is the fan bike.
That is the worst.
But you embrace the suck, and then everything else makes it more fun. But I mean, it's like you still have control, right? You can choose. I mean, you've got, both you guys actually have pretty badass home gyms, and it's like, you guys choose to work out. Like, you have access to stuff. You do have means, but you also have, 40 plus, upwards of 50 rotations around the sun to have accumulated said knowledge and understand the value of
don't
that.
forget Craigslist or its more delinquent brother, OfferUp. There's stuff out there.
Well, and you know how long I've had that home gym?
I'm going to guess at least a decade.
Yep, about a decade. And you know how many times I went out there and lifted in a month?
Are we talking 2019 BC, before Corona?
Before Corona. 6. Yeah, it's probably a good guess on the high side for me. But I got to say that this is the first time in my adult life that I've worked out 4 days a week for, I think I'm coming up on a year here pretty quick.
Yeah.
It's insane.
How do you feel?
I feel great.
Yeah.
And I, it's just, I think, the small format and the fact that when you don't show up, somebody goes, "Hey, where were you? We missed you."
Right. Not shaming, but just because we missed the jokes, we missed the bullshit, we missed the right.
You missed the belly.
We missed the belly. We only had 4 of them tonight. We need our 5th. Where's our band member?
Yeah, it's like a boy band.
It is a total boy band. It's a boy band that let themselves
degenerate, retarded boy band. Just the worst. It's it's middle-aged version of K-pop. What the hell would you call it?
P-pop, polar bear pop,
polar bear pop.
Polar bear pop.
Ugly most days.
No, but I mean, the reality is like, you found that the trick is not the exercises itself; it's the community, right?
Oh yeah. And then I think I shot the 5 ideas over, and for me that was the biggest.
Number one.
It was number one, yeah. And again, like I said, went Montessori. Then you had high school fitness. Actually, in college, I knew this was early '90s when the Ducks were just starting to spend some money over in that what is now the Autzen facility. Right. And a dude I was in the outdoor program with was a strength coach over there. So that was the first time I kind of got into a real gym. And
Like a real program.
Well, yeah, and he started talking about programming. I mean, I still kind of looked at it and go, oh yeah, well, whatever. But that was kind of my first taste of that. And then after college, I think I belonged to some shitty gym, and then did about a 15-year home fitness experiment, which I will also call it a failure. I might have had 2 more reps on that home weight set than Chris did. But when Jake, when you opened this, and it was like, oh great, I'll bring Ryan down at 4, and you're just like, and you'll come at 5, and I'm like, I don't know about that, but yeah, that's the biggest thing is the programming, the community, and it's night and day different. I'm a convert.
Yeah, it's an interesting evolution too, because your guys' age, my age, like we came up working out in the gym. Legitimately, first membership was Gold's Gym with my dad and my mom.
Sweet.
Yeah,
did you get the tank top?
I did have the tank top. I had the racer back too. I couldn't fill it out. I couldn't fill it out worth a shit, but it was like the standard issue. Like, here's your tank top. Go fill it. See you in 6 years.
Yeah.
Like,
fill the sleeves, brother.
Right.
Fill the sleeves.
But I mean, that was the thing, right? It was all kind of weird. Like, smelled funny. I still like going. I'd still like going to old school iron gyms because it's got a specific smell.
Right.
And it's like a walk down memory lane. But it was so. I got to credit my dad and my mom too. Mom was one of the few women in the gym to begin with, and she was badass. Like, it was just like, yeah, okay. She didn't like, nobody wanted to fuck around with her because she's like, I mean, she could hands down curl more than my buddies in high school. It was just like, But it was still a kind of a individual journeys, and my dad had a group of guys that he lifted with, and there were 4 or 5 guys.
I bet that was the key to how he really turned up numbers,
and that's exactly it. It's like he had a group. They all liked to lift. They were power lifty. Dad would do singles here and there, but most of it was 4s and 6s, and stuff like that. And still ridiculous weight that I'm like, God damn it, how? I'm like, are the plates really hollow? Like, what the fuck is going on? But it was my whole mindset of that. Growing up it was Arnold. It was Lou Ferrigno.
Totally.
It was Stallone. And it's like, now we've come through.
And juiced out of their mind.
Oh, yeah.
and by that judge, I think you failed.
Oh, hands down. It was like, honest to God, the best moment for me, for my, I guess, psychological well-being of my body image, because it was like, I'm never going to be Arnold. I mean, my heaviest, 8 times a day playing football, 244. Like, I could not get bigger without going to the other level of, enhanced supplements. It's like that super soldier serum was not offered to me. It's like, you're at a D3 school, you're trying to play semi-pro, you ain't getting shit, homie. But
it's BYO. BYOS. Bring your own steroids.
Bring your own juice. But like, okay, so that was an option. It realistically, especially with my health, it was not going to be a thing that was sustainable or functional. But when Fight Club came out and Brad Pitt stepped out there, it's like, ooh, I'm a lot closer to that body type than I am to Arnold. It was like,
you had a moment there, didn't you?
I did have a moment, and it was like,
Brad's a handsome man.
It's like, that's my unicorn.
Right. It was Fight Club, wasn't it?
It was Fight Club. No, it was. It was Fight Club because but you remember, like, Fight Club was right before 300, and the whole game changed with Fight Club, 300, and then you got to the superhero movies, all kind of coinciding with the same time as the launch of CrossFit and Jim Jones.
Ooh.
And now here we are 20 years plus later. Fight Club, I think, had like the 25th anniversary. I'm like, what the fuck?
Is it that old?
Yeah. Like, it was like way back there. I'm like, this isn't cool. But that whole, I mean, even to the point of you in here now with the workouts that you do, you're stronger than you've hit PRs that you hadn't hit in your life.
Oh, no, yeah, but way more.
And we've had the 20 years of that kind of CrossFit, the Jim Jones stuff, everything kind of mixing up the batch now. And we've got a hell of a lot stronger, fitter, older people that, you look at, God, what was it? It was, it was when J-Lo turned 50, and they had a side-by-side of her at 50 at the halftime Super Bowl show next to Rue McClanahan from the Golden Girls at 50. And it's like, these two women are 50. It's like, yeah.
I think one spent more money on a few enhancements.
There might be a few bolt-ons there.
Nonetheless, fitness was still a priority. And instead of cashing in your chips at 50, like, I remember, like, literally I remember my dad's 40th birthday, 50th birthday. It's like, people seemed older than they do now. like his older friends then that were 60, like, man, they didn't move well. They were not functional. They'd kind of just stopped moving. They didn't. You don't see it. You don't see a ton of really old bodybuilders. You're starting to see more older powerlifters.
Yep.
You're definitely starting to see guys in their 50s and creeping up their 60s that are CrossFit guys. You know, it's like, man, maybe that is the answer.
I think it was just a cultural thing. I think, fitness, in the 80s was a young person deal.
Yeah, in the closet, or like, in the dark, in a like Orions or the old, the dog pound.
Right.
Well, and I grew up in a pretty blue collar area, so people's
Pennsylvania,
bodies,
right?
Minnesota,
right?
But people's bodies were breaking down by then, and
right.
It's a little harder to break your body
Right.
down, other than the carpal tunnel that I experience on my keyboard.
Now, well, and that's the thing, because you had so much manual labor, right?
Right,
now
right.
that we've automated so much stuff, it's opened the opportunity for
it's a shift in society.
societal shift and efficiency of work. And if Elon had his way, all that remedial stuff would be all AI driven.
What's the movie where we're just going to sit in chairs and the food's going to be brought to us?
Wall-E.
I like that. Yeah,
It's a good one.
Oh yeah,
But at the
It's
end of the
aspirational.
movie, at the end of the movie, what is it? Oh, we got to get up. We got to start moving again, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's where we're headed, but let's not get there. But it's interesting because then
that's
of
fat
course-
shaming, Jake. It's hateful.
Polar bears.
Polar bears. It's all polar bears, and polar bears are cuddly, and we need the balance. But to the point of this entire discussion and the entire social media sphere, if all you did was look at fitness via social media, you'd think that you could only be in shape to be fit, and it's like, no. I mean, there are a lot of different ways to get there. Yours is the interesting one because you went through the military route.
Yep.
Fitness wasn't just like suggested.
No, it was not optional.
Boot to the head if you weren't out of bed
Right.
at 5:30.
Exactly. And your remediation for any deficiencies was more pain.
More, and then of course every month you got weighed, and I had a big enough butt that even though I was in great shape, I weighed 163 pounds, I was still overweight on the BMI chart, and so I got tape tested every time, and that's another way to ensure that you remember to work out on the weekend.
So they're tape testing, they body weigh you, and part of the weight too, I'm sure, is flight related because you got to be
No, this was just straight.
This is everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah.
just straight up your height. This is what you weigh.
Yeah.
And this is your dimensions.
And my son, who's in pretty darn good shape right now, is in ROTC, and he's outside of their proportions because he's 5'9" and 171 pounds.
He's a fucking specimen.
They tape tested
Oh
every
God, what would they
freaking
think
way.
of me?
Excuse me, sir.
One at a time, please. One at a time.
Are there two people in there? It's fascinating because like battlefield wise, it's functional, right? Like who's the most functional, capable person might not be the person that hits a certain number.
Well, what's fascinating now is the Army, at least, is moving more towards functional fitness than they used to.
Yeah, they had a significant revision of standards recently, didn't
The
they?
PT standard just changed like 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're in a position where you have you're going to end up on a battlefield or potentially near a battlefield, now you have to do more CrossFit-y things than just run, do push-ups, and do sit-ups.
The standard, the old school standard 3, the push-up, sit-up, pull-up, 3 mile or 6 mile run.
Not even the pull-ups. Pull-ups were just to train you to do more push-ups.
When in doubt, more push-ups, because right. It'll be interesting to see then how that translates into longevity careers, because I know at least, especially a lot of the guys kind of in your demographic, y'all got the shit beat out of you.
Oh, yeah.
Your back, knees, hips, neck, just toast.
The only thing that saved us was, I think you call it plank. They just called it front lean and rest.
where you catch your breath using your core to kind of structure up and just try to catch your breath, but it's still debilitating. I mean, it's still hard.
Oh yeah, well the best was, I think we did something wrong. I forget what we did wrong, but it was something good. And we ended up at 2 a.m. out on a field getting sprayed down with a hose. And if you let your back sag out of the front lean and rest, then you got rolled over and more pain. So you learned how to hold that core position, which I thought I would hate it when I first got in here, and turns out it's okay.
Now it's hardwired into you, and you can actually catch your breath in a core, in a plank, in a movement.
I'll never tell you, but you don't quite make us do it long enough. But I didn't say that.
Shut up, Chris.
I gotta keep some of the people happy at the same time. It's like, that's why there's always options. It's like you can do 30 or you could do 60. It's funny though, because it becomes a mental game, right? I mean, you're probably out there hours, and how much of it is your body telling you to quit, and how much of it is just your mind?
I mean, in the end, especially when you're 18, it's all your mind.
Right.
Well, on the competitive side, right? Because you got your team with you, who you don't want to let down. I mean, I got to think that's a big part of it, right? Because they do program you pretty well to understand team first, me second, right?
Always.
And I got to think, and now that you're in, the private industry side, not not civil servant, not military service anymore, that had to turn into a solid skill base for you to be successful in business, or just not fail. But because none of us, I think, would say, "Oh, I'm super successful," until I've got Elon money or Bezos money. It's like you can always do better, and even those guys are still trying to do better. But I gotta think that's helped.
Well, I want just enough money so that nobody knows who I am, but I can do whatever I want.
Perfect.
So yacht with a helicopter pad.
Yeah, and the plane, and that gets parked in my garage, but nobody knows my name.
Right. But I mean, the physical abuse has a purpose. Like the mental teaching. I mean, I think a lot of people understand that. Oh, they break you down to build you back up. But no, legitimately, they break you down to where you're broken, like in borderline dysfunctional.
Well, I mean, again, it's especially, I think, back in the prior to maybe the more modern time where there's less of the same types of jobs the Army had. They break you down, they build you back up in their vision, and it works great for some people, most people probably, but there are a few that it's an experience that they never kind of recover from too. So
and move away from.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're talking both physical and mental. Is part of that breaking down the individual and bringing you back as you're a member of a team?
Yeah.
And I think you particularly. We're going to talk about the young kids now.
The youngsters.
The young kids, you millennials.
The younglings.
Where's Brian Mitchell?
Busy working on his hair and figuring out which headband for his workout tonight.
Anyhow, it's and there's a left-handed compliment, because you will see the people, again, the younger people who get the team concept and those who don't.
Right.
And I think there's definitely some conflict in the business world, at least what I see. Again, the people who say, well, this should be about me, right? And whether we go back to helicopter parents and nobody loses and whatnot, it's it's not translating very well into what I think a successful business team is.
And pulling that to full circle, you actually have a software program specifically designed to help employers find those motivated, we'll call them millennials or whatever, but basically new hires in their organization, or to filter their current staff of who they have and who are they in the right roles.
Right. And I mean, in the end, I mean, I think that there are people that believe that the people are the strongest asset a company has, and those are the kind of people I'm looking for to help. And there are people that believe they're successful because they have a system, and God love them. There's many of them. Some of them are successful and don't want to poo-poo what they're doing, but I fall directly into the team is important and the employees are the strongest part of a company. And if you align them correctly to have the right kind of conflict but get rid of the wrong kind of conflict, a lot of really good things can happen. Constructive
conflict is maybe a way to conflict's such a hard that's a hard adjective, because it's like it almost begets a non-positive outcome.
Yeah.
But in today's world, that seems to be, it's you're left or right, you're one side of the fence or the other, and there's no positivity to come. The word debate is not even a word anymore, and people don't actually utilize it. But it's like, it's funny that that's what you've found and have been very successful with, business-wise, of finding like it's constructive conflicts.
Well, it's positive conflicts, right? It's not conflict for the sake of conflict. It's when somebody
or
notices
overrun the other.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want people that are afraid to speak, but you also don't want to be told every time something's wrong either. So there's a balance in there that's sometimes hard to find for some individuals.
Well, and again, I think it's back to being part of a team, back to losing, back to competing. To when you've got a point that you're passionate about, there's an argument, and maybe there's that constructive conflict. Make a decision, and just like when the game's over, you give the dude a high five and good game,
right?
And we move on.
Yeah, you got me this time. Next match, next time. Let's go.
I think there's a component of that that's missing. Again, you can't be butthurt. I mean,
all the
time.
There
just isn't time. There just isn't time. There's no benefit from it.
Well, it sucks not to be right. I mean, nobody likes to be wrong with something.
Do you like to be right?
I do appreciate my very few and infrequent moments of victory. Yes.
I would say that you're selling yourself a little short on your insane memory for really meaningless shit.
I think everyone that is married to me, i.e., my wife, would 100% agree with you. That like, what the why are you even fucking talking about that? Like, I don't know. It's just there. It's always there. It's just sitting right there. I can't let it go. No, but it is funny because it's like that conflict makes everybody. It's even in the fitness spectrum. It makes you stronger, right? You're fighting gravity. You're fighting yourself. You're fighting your own mindset. But that's at least been the one evolution in fitness. I'm curious to see the longevity of Peloton because they are doing the best of anybody to digitally create that community to where people are engaged.
Ooh, very interesting.
Right? I mean, we've had digital online training, but like Peloton kind of fucking crushed it. And it's a cool tool that everybody's got that shared suffrage with.
Right.
The catch is it's still in 2 years, it's still going to be a bike. Right. And so it's like, are they going to evolve as a company with that and just kind of cascade into other stuff? Or is it just going to, I mean, because quite frankly, it's like, it's the same thing with the skier. It's like, I love the skier until I don't. And then I just leave it alone for a while. And I go back to, it's like, I want to row more.
Well, so the question is, can you create that relationship?
Right.
This is back to my Home Depot versus Nail Lady.
Yes. I love this analogy. This is the best. You need to share this. This is awesome.
So before you fired up Forge, my daughter and I were just over the 24-hour fitness for a couple years, and it's fine. But you stick in your AirPods and you go in there and you do their thing. And there was one guy, I don't know what was his name, Paul or something, that he was like the membership guy, and he was like the only guy that I talked to in there because when I went in there was of course some special, and then he couldn't do the special, and so I just gave him a wrath of shit, and drug it out for a week, just tortured him for my own amusement, but tried to be kind of funny about it. And so he'd see me come in and he'd be like, oh god, it's that guy. So I would actually go over there and just flip him some lighthearted shit. And I think he kind of liked it. My daughter has a different opinion, but that was the only guy that I talked to in there,
right?
And then you put in your thing and you go do your deal, and then you look at what you've got here, and it's a completely different environment. It's all about the relationships between the people, and again, showing up and yucking it up with the kettle-belly crew, and so. I look at a 24-hour fitness like a Home Depot, and it's a perfectly decent service for what you're paying for, but you're going to walk in, nobody really cares. You get your stuff and you leave. And now you are Nail Lady. So
there are a lot of nail ladies out there now too.
So my wife, when we lived in Selwood in 1994, she went to the little local nail lady named Rhonda. She still goes to Rhonda, the nail lady, 26 years later or whatever it is. And I remember, we used to live in Selwood, then of course moved, and now in Lake Oswego, and nail ladies out in Milwaukee. And I remember Kim going, well, yeah, I won't be home till 7:30 because I got to go to the traffic. And I'm like, there's probably a few nail ladies between our house and Milwaukee. And she looked at me like it was the most insulting thing I'd said that day.
Right. Or that half a day.
Yeah, exactly. Anyhow, so you're a nail lady. There are strong relationships that are formed.
You're definitely not Great Clips.
No, I'm not. I much prefer the one and done. Well, and that's the thing, with the infinite capacity for information exchange now, right? I mean, you gotta understand how to filter it, because as my daughters learned, not all Google results are correct. There's some stuff that gets in there. It's like, that's not right. You gotta check. You still gotta vet your source, right?
Yeah.
But you get into the fitness realm, and it's like, yeah, most of nothing's secret anymore. What basically kind of started with Jack LaLanne back in the day, and I mean, even Arnold's stuff, everything was hyper protected, hyper secret. What's the secret sauce? Well, you got to come to Venice to learn it, and nothing was out. Now it's the opposite. Now there's so much stuff out there that you got to have enough of it, knowledge base to filter through the bullshit.
Right. 21st century, you must have an excellent bullshit filter.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where it's not the easiest. You go to Home Depot, it's like, well, which one of these 5 things do I want? I don't know. Well, Google reviews. Oh, look at these reviews. There's 10,000 reviews on this. That makes it a little bit easier because it's a product. But on the fitness side, it's like, dude, you could have some super popular stuff that is the absolute wrong fucking thing for you. And walking it, I actually really do appreciate CrossFit because they made some really weird shit popular in. Well,
and I think they also popularized the small gym model, the small group training, and I think that's nail lady for me.
Well, and what they did, I mean, you could say well, Jim Jones did too. Very much treated it like we're going to create our own cult. And we're going to spread our message, right? The plus side is if you can take some of the filters to it and be like, oh, a 48-year-old high mileage compartment syndrome in the neck, all that kind of stuff.
Easy.
You should not be doing certain movements and lifts or the volume and frequency, right? Because it's going to beat you down. It's going to break you down. Yeah. But younger guys, awesome, great, no problem. And if you find the right, especially CrossFit, you find the right gym, you find the right coaches, you find the right space that has that level of academic appreciation for what should and shouldn't be done fitness-wise, you're going to be super successful. But there's people that come in, with us, and I will never judge anybody that wants to jump into any class of any kind at any gym. But there are people that sometimes come in looking for a boot camp and a drill instructor because they respond better to somebody yelling at them to motivate them externally. And it's like, that ain't us. That's not how I operate.
Right.
That's not how the people that I choose to work out with
you've yelled at me before and hurt my feelings.
I've yelled at you, but that was well deserved.
And me, I was just over in a puddle in the corner in the first month, and he just comes over and goes, you might want to just do half.
Well, I don't want anybody to get hurt. It's in your best interest.
They got to come back.
But no, the reality is, it's like you don't want to run it till you break somebody. You also, but some people do. They like to have that kind of the boot camp style, like scream in my face to get me going because that's what I do.
Right.
Awesome. I can refer you to 3 other places or 5 other coaches that's going to be what you get, and that's awesome for you. And at least you'll be in the right the right community for that. And we're not that. We're kind of more on the other end of the spectrum of like, hey, it's just rational. It's like, hey, if you don't want to do the lift, that's fine. Don't do the lift, but you're also not going to get the results. So deal with your own consequences of your own choices. It may be a little bit of psychological warfare in there at the time, but at the same time, it's still.
I think that's called passive aggressive.
Well, and I think for me, the difference is when you've got something injured and what's a different way to do this, or maybe I shouldn't do it,
or you keep getting injured.
No, I'll tell you what, that was one thing that I noticed right away, again, from Montessori fitness background to kind of showed up. It's like, oh yeah, something in my elbow is not liking that lift. I just remember both you and Wolf were always like, oh, well, turn your grip or try this instead. You'll get 90% of the same lift and you won't agitate whatever's bugging you. And again, that's the real value in that kind of small group environment, I think.
I think it's that, and then the program, right? So when I went into, I used to belong to 24-hour fitness, and you'd go in and some days you attend a class and that's a good programming, and then another day you don't and you go do your own thing, and it didn't all come together for everything I should be doing.
Right. There wasn't like a overarching mission plan for you to, hey, we're going to go to this point in 8 weeks or 10 weeks or 12 weeks or whatever, or like gearing up for hiking season, you know, and that's something it's
by the way, I expect the whole gym to be on prep for hiking season in the spring.
So weighted box step ups and single leg deadlifts
please stop. Please stop.
Also cardio. Strapless rowing for everybody.
I see where this is going.
Yeah. You're like, I will probably be at home for the next 6 weeks and fuck you. But it's funny that you say that, because it's like the people want to, they want to get back into fitness a lot of times because they are dissatisfied with where they're currently at. Maybe it's aesthetically, maybe it's performance-wise, maybe it's trying to keep up with my 5-year-old or my 6-year-old, and I'm just like, fuck, I'm tired. Or those kids got a little bit older, and now it's like, we're going for a hike and they're kicking my ass, and it's like, this isn't good. My kids are about to take over the house. I got to get my shit together.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I drugged my wife here, and I won't say she came kicking and screaming, but she was not excited. And she's now been doing it for about 5 months, and she cannot believe how good she feels.
Right.
And she's like, I didn't feel that bad, but now I know what good feels like.
Right.
Exactly. And you kind of get acclimated to like, this is okay, but I could feel better. you know, and yeah, there's days that, you know, I'm sure walking up the stairs or sitting down to go
Ouch.
potty is, yeah.
Ouch.
Ouch. Every step,
Ouch.
ouch, getting out of bed. But it's kind of that like, hey, what's your mission plan? What's your goal? What's your target? You know?
Is it weakness if you get a higher toilet installed?
No. That's called efficiency. That's called efficiency. It's not. There's no squat.
You're differently abled.
Yes, differently able. There's no squat depth minimum for going potty. But to that point is like, you know, she didn't know she didn't know she could feel better. But a lot of people don't really necessarily have an idea other than I just feel bad. I want to go get fit. Okay, that's awesome, but what's the target? You know, what's the goal? And if you don't have something, and I like those near-term, long-term stuff, you know, it's like, hey, okay, in the first 2 weeks, I just want to show up 8 days, you know, and then maybe that's it. And then just kind of move. And then it's like, okay, now why is everybody else not as sore as I am? Oh, well, they're taking BCAAs. Okay, oh, well, what's that? You just kind of add a little bit to the quiver, and then all of a sudden you got all sorts of ammo to take on things.
Well, and she never would have lifted weights. If you'd have said,
No.
what exercise are you going to do? And you say, I'm going to lift weights, even if they're not big weights, they're weights.
Right.
She'd have said that's the last thing in the world she needed.
Right.
Which is ironic because everyone as they get older needs resistance training in part for just straight up bone density. It's good for your health.
Yeah. Don't mention older around my wife.
3 is technically older than 2. Yeah. We have annual 39th birthdays in my house.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's like she didn't know what she didn't know, so she didn't know that she could feel better. And now that she's, you know, gotten that, and again, part of the reason, you know, you guys are here talking right now is like there's a lot of guys that can we call him our mascot, Nate?
Oh, Nate's awesome.
Nate's awesome, right?
He's one of my favorites.
Never worked out in his life.
Hey, he worked his thumbs out on video game controllers.
No, he can crush some first-person shooters. I know full well. But, I mean, you know, smoke, considerable amount of health issues. Found this based on a couple of posts I did with a couple of other dads. And he's like, oh, those look like people that look like me. Or the flip side was he came to a week of 5 p.m. classes after signing the super secret waiver and was like, oh, these are people that think like me too.
Yeah.
And it's not, you know,
these are some sick little monkeys.
But it's not the arbitrariness of a 24-hour fitness where he's left to his own devices. Like, I'm going to go elliptical for half an hour.
No, that's just it. I think it was, kind of an amazing connection there because, like I said, at Home Depot, he just would have been lost wandering in the aisles.
Right.
Yeah.
And he was able to find people that in some ways think like him, and a lot of ways look like him. But it was comfortable, you know. And he also realized it wasn't just like a kumbaya sit around and do jack shit session. It was like, these people work really fucking hard.
Yeah.
Well, now he's over at my house on Saturdays lifting so that he can bench press you.
No, I think that's honestly one of the greatest stories out of Forge, because I remember when Nate first showed up and I'm like, this guy ain't gonna last long, and
you meant it with love.
Yeah, I did. It was brutal honesty. But now to watch him really get some hunger on pushing himself, pushing some lifts. Yeah. And now he's got the numbers bug because he's a very intelligent, numbers oriented dude.
I would quantify him as hyper intelligent. Yeah. And it's scary because then you get the visceral feel of like, ooh, I just pulled that off the ground.
Yeah.
It's an addiction. And it's like, cool, dude, awesome. We're not going to do that again for like 6 months. Wait, why?
Just cuz. Trust me.
Do you see the old dogs in here? They're old dogs for a reason. We've been around the block.
I got a text from the day after. I think he did 2 or 3 PRs in one day.
Yes.
And the next day he said, maybe I should have only done 2.
Well, and that was the thing, right? Because I do remember that because it was, we had a plan, we had a target. He crushed it, and he still felt good. Like, cool, all right, ride the wave a little bit longer. It has, your tube hasn't collapsed yet. Let's ride this wave out a little bit further. Got a couple more lifts in. Then it was like, you're done. He's like, I want to do one more. I'm like, you've timed out on the number of lifts for today. Let's do this on the next cycle next time. Literally, like 3 days later, he's like, oh, fuck.
I get it.
I get it.
I get it.
Things hurt that I didn't know could hurt in places I didn't know I had.
And BCAA is not going to take care of it.
No, not on that one.
Well, and again, back to programming. I think my own kind of personal things. I remember, kind of first starting here, and it's like, what are all these weird Bulgarian split squats, and just things that I remember from 80s aerobics, with leg spreads and
communist exercises.
Jane Fonda.
The Russian twists.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll bet you look good in a leotard.
Oh, dynamite, baby. The thought train just crashed there.
Delete. Swipe.
Anyhow, just all of the what I'll call kind of preparation exercises for those, and I think that's really what helped me kind of push some leg numbers. Is just all the weird hip stuff that I never did that, and again, I think it has a huge effect on squats and deadlift.
Well, and taking a totality picture too, it's like, a lot of guys like to do bench, right? And the kind of the running joke I have, especially with the kids and the high school, girls and boys that come in here that are like, hey, how can I get my bench up? Like, do more deadlifts. They're like, how can I get my this press up? Do more deadlifts. And like, wait, why? I'm like, because one, you're deficient in it, for starters. So you've got an imbalance. But two, the stronger your opposites are, your posterior side. You're looking at an anterior press, build your posterior. Why? Because you have static tension there. It's going to allow you to do more. Also, it's going to absorb more of the impact of that movement, depending on what if it's a squat, or you want a better squat, do more deadlifts. You want to get better at cleans, do more squats, front squats, all the things that are complementary that balance you out, which also, weirdly enough, help prevent injury, make you feel better.
I was going to say, remember the last thing on my list?
I do, which is going to be the last thing.
Is it bad that I don't understand a word you just said?
No, because you're doing the movements anyways, because you're just following along, which is perfect. It's like you don't have to, and that's the other thing too. That's a perfect segue, actually, because I did, with you guys work full-time, not just employment wise with your self-employed with your jobs and development and all, but you've got kids, you're constantly on, and that decision fatigue is a real thing. And I've seen both you guys come in, and I and there's a bazillion other people like you that it's like, dude, I don't need to fucking think tonight, just show me what to do. Tell me what to do. Thing goes beep, the Julie workout, clock goes beep, I do stuff. I don't give a fuck what it's called. I'm glad I don't have to spell it. It doesn't matter, but I'm doing the thing, right? And now it's like, oh, okay. And eventually maybe catch up some of that, verbiage and lexicon. But the kind of the mark of a good coach for me has always been, in other places I've been to, one of the places I really enjoyed was down in Los Angeles, was Pharos. And they do a awesome job of, we say keep it simple, stupid, but it's not that you're doing simplistic movements or that's been nerfed for you in any way, but it's like, we're just taking away a lot of the extra mental exercise you have to do at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. after a day of work, of just like, hey, this program, follow this. You're going to be good. Don't worry about what it's called. Don't worry about the what or the why. It's just the how. How do I do that? That's how I do it. Okay, I'm going to do that. And I got to think that's kind of comforting, but also...
Oh, it's huge. And the other thing is, after you've been through a few of the cycles, when first you said, hey, we're finishing this cycle, and I looked at you like, what?
What? Wait, I was in a cycle?
Do we have to get on the bike again? Because I don't really like that. But again, you start. You've been here long enough, and you kind of look behind the curtain a little bit.
Right.
You can kind of see what it's doing, but. Again, to have all that in place, and the beauty of it is it can run kind of seamlessly.
Right.
I won't say you trick us, but
sometimes.
But it's just kind of there's smooth transitions, and it's also just mixing it up. For a dude with a 17-second attention span,
shiny objects and laser pointers.
Yeah. Squirrel.
But 28-inch guns, right?
Yeah.
Huge,
massive,
huge
polar bear guns.
Polar bear belly.
But taking away that, you can call it responsibility, I guess, but taking away that burden of having to do all your own programming, to where you're not just walking into 24 headphones. Oh fuck, I guess I'll get on the elliptical for an hour.
Well, it's not just like a program, because I think the part that I caught on to it eventually, we'd come back and you'd go, how do you feel? And I'd go, why the hell is he bothering me with this shit? And then I realized after a while that, he's asking everybody, and when everybody's
I'm a little blue, Jake.
When everybody's run down, he actually lowers the workload for the next workout. And then you're like,
Yeah, because sometimes you get a plan, right? It's like anything else. You guys have business plans. Case in point, in commercial construction. Hey, here's our plan, our timeline. Awesome. Promptly put that next to the toilet because that's where it's going to end up, is getting wiped and flushed. But those timelines don't always work out, and things happen in the middle of it.
You must adjust.
You must adjust.
Let's
right?
build some more office space today.
In our warehouse
Adapt
zone.
and overcome.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, but that's the thing, right? It's like having the, I guess, the external observation to be able to look at the group, look at the platoon, look at everybody, be like, we're lagging a little bit over here, or hey, they're not responding the way I'd expected. Sometimes that's like, fuck, they're eating this up and we're crushing it. Oh, let's throttle up a little bit, turn it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, man, everybody's fucking beat down, and having the ability and I don't know, I'd say like lack of ego. Because I don't care what I do. I don't care what. I just want it to be the right thing. I don't care whose idea it is or what the feedback is. I just want it to be correct and
Results oriented.
Well, yeah, that's what the numbers don't lie.
No,
I mean, it's
no deity worship allowed.
no, definitely not. Which is an interesting thing with because fitness. It's like, man, I'll tell you, it's just the word influencer and follower. The whole fitness industry, especially online, is built around celebrities of look at me. I was going to say do me, but then that sounds kind of odd.
Please,
look at me,
please, God, no.
do things like me, be me in my way, because
Jake,
my way is...
you're going to have to buy me dinner first.
But it's really more looking for disciples and followers, and that's probably great for some people.
Ooh, interesting concept though, because again, we're talking about nail lady. You need that tight relationship. But at what point does a relationship become a little toxic?
Yeah.
And again, like you said,
expire.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it burns really hot, but it burns out kind of fast.
Pretty much like any redhead. Yeah. Burns hot, out fat. Okay, cool. We'll come back to.
Well, and the nice part is I used to do a lot of martial arts, and I don't ever have black eyes and broken ribs anymore. So
yeah,
it's a good thing.
That is a good thing, But it's an interesting time because now we're all quote unquote isolated, except for here, but we're distant, but not. But it's very confusing, and then everyone's turning because they're at their house. They're turning into that. I got to go find somebody to follow to give me their thing, and cookie cuttering it. Like it better work for me. It's like, dude, it probably won't work for you. That person, especially online. You don't know what's going on behind the curtain. They're only posting what they choose to post.
Right.
They're not posting, I eat, 6 ribeyes a day and take this protein powder and BCA. Awesome. I can also tell from the way that you just cut in the last 3 weeks on social media, you're on all sorts of gear and you're full of shit. Yeah. Which if they just said that, cool, awesome. I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't give a shit, but be honest.
Yeah.
It's like the magic guy that takes the fit picture before and then drinks the gallon of milk.
Yep. Yeah, right. It's like, why do you blow it all of a sudden? Well, because they did it backwards, John.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the thing. It's like it's all procured and cultured into that specific lane of be like this, look like this. You need to do this. I don't want to.
So back to Peloton. You said that you felt they were doing the best kind of online connection with people. What do you think of the distinguishing characteristics there? What are they doing right?
Well, I think a lot of what they did was they took the obvious popularity of Burn Cycle, Soul Cycle, the yoga studios, where you've got a bunch of people packed together in a shared curated experience that is also choreographed. And I translate that over partly because of my wife and her friends, and like my wife's favorite pastime when the world was spinning was teaching Zumba.
Right.
Former Blazer dancer. Yeah. Weird. She likes to dance.
Which is small group training.
Which is a small group training, right? Now those small groups might be 30 or 50 people in a studio, but it's, hey, this is cool. I can be not good, but still kind, but it's fun, and there's music, and it's engaging, and you've got kind of sort of celebrity coaches or whatever leading the thing, and Peloton took that, digitized it, because they spent a shit ton of money on production, and the product is spectacular. It's like if Apple decided to get into fitness, it'd be Peloton.
But I think the really big difference, and I've done spin classes, and I actually like spin classes. Not going to get run over, and it's a really good workout, and it doesn't require very much skill.
No.
You just clip your freaking pedals in and you go and you sweat like a dog and you're done at the end. You feel like you did something.
Right.
And it's a little different here.
It is. But what they've done is they took that experience and they made it deliverable to your doorstep and deliverable to your phone.
Right.
And then of course their membership things change, and I don't pay as much time. I don't own one, so it's like I just kind of get it by product from people. I mean, there's plenty of people that we work out with that own them, and they like it because they miss their spin classes.
Right. Yeah.
I don't particularly care for spin classes. It's too loud. I don't like having people on top. I was kind of like, some of this COVID stuff's been kind of awesome. It was like, awesome. Get the fuck away from me. This is great. But
social
a
distancing.
couple of the buddies now, there's a lot of competitors now, and they've got cheaper ways to do it where you can have these machines where you clip in your own bike and flip up a screen.
The Zwift.
Yeah. And they're doing they're racing against each other and very interactive.
Do they have live coaches?
They do, and you can jump into live classes. You can pay for live service. You can do recorded. You can choose to be choose to be visible or whatever, interactive with it. And they do a really good job of the community curating, where it's like, oh, hey, Jody, this was your 100th class today, and you're in there with 50 people from around the world at that time, whatever. And they're like, Jody, yeah! And everybody's like, woo!
Oh, we love Jody! We love Jody!
I'm on 500. I'm on, fuck.
Jody, send nudes.
But it's like, hey, they don't put anybody like hierarchical, like, hey, this is our ace person. They catch everybody, right? So to the point of like the small group community, they've done a really good job of doing that in, I'd say, in an environment that coincidentally was optimized for them. I don't think anybody would have chosen for a pandemic to shove everybody into their house and lock everybody down.
Right.
But
their model adapted very well to the conditions,
and they were ready for it, and they've done a really good job.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with riding a bike, and it's part of the solution here as well.
Right.
Although the one with the fan on it, the Rogue one,
that's a
not
bad idea.
The Devil's Tricycle.
Yeah, that one. But it's not the whole thing for most people, especially people my age.
Right, and that's the thing too. Is like, quite frankly, I don't like riding a bike. It's not comfortable.
I think I've made my opinions
You
clear.
made your opinion very clear about the bike, but that's where I kind of wonder, like, how long is that wave going to go? I got to think with the kind of money that they're making, they're going to adapt into other stuff, and you'll have Peloton functional, right? They'll be like, you get a set of like Select Tech dumbbells,
right,
and start doing Group X style stuff. Like
Timmy's Wuhan bells,
Timmy's kettlebells, and it's going to evolve. If they're smart, they'll do that. But they've done a good job of creating that ecosystem to where that's it. But the flip side of that is all you see is numbers on a board, and Orange Theory did that and turned it into a splat point thing to where it's like,
how was Orange Theory doing before COVID crushed everything?
I'm not going to say that they were. I mean, I read a lot of the URSA studies and things like that and see how they do, and they weren't by any means plateauing, but the growth had not exponential like it was initially. The growth curve had slowed, and it was starting to kind of do the
turnover.
we're gonna catch this thing to where we're closing more than we're opening, because you end up with a volume issue too. It's everybody and their brother wants to open up a Orange Theory and make it. It's just like when CrossFit first started. It's like they could open across the street from each other because they were an affiliation. They're not a franchise.
Well, yeah, you hit saturation. I think you and I have talked about this before. Just you look at Portland, Oregon, and probably most of the West Coast. The fitness world is hyper competitive.
Extremely.
I mean, how many gyms are there in a 3-mile arc from most of our houses?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of options. So, was Orange Theory franchise based, or were they all corporate owned?
and they know full well to the point of that 3-mile thing. It's like it might be 7 miles now, but for a long time it was like a 6-mile radius. Was kind of the key number. It's like, where's your radius? Who's your numbers? What's those are the people.
It's classic retail.
And there are people that will travel to Milwaukee for their nail salon, or there are people that'll come.
Because you have to have that relationship to draw that travel time.
And that's what's going to be interesting with the Peloton thing is like, are they really fostering relationships to where people are communicating, but also communitying outside of that drop-in session? I don't know how, because it's digital and all over the place, and it's it's like, do you really have a relationship with somebody on Instagram? Not really, but you guys met here. Nate walked in the door here. We've got a bunch of people that are in this community that are now friends, and I've done the same thing with people in other states based on fitness things I've gone and done. That it's like, oh, now we're Leo's up in Seattle. Well, he's always, he was here for Thanksgiving. It's like, we're always going to be connected, right? And it came from this type of environment. And I don't know how you replicate that in the real world, coming off of a Peloton. And then, Orange Theory, they were and then they've gotten into the digital space too. They just don't have the equipment. Peloton's selling you the whole thing in a box, right?
Right. No,
Delivered
it's
to your door.
it's slick.
It's
you
awesome.
Run the credit card and
It's
pop,
awesome.
it shows up. It's all good to go.
But the other thing that Orange Theory ran into was it's like, okay, you're ostracizing a part of the market that can't physically do those things. I went to an Orange Theory, for, I don't say fun, but it was part of we'll call it
research.
We'll call it an academic exercise. And I've been into a few.
Business espionage?
Not quite that nefarious, but more just like, I do like to know what everybody's doing, right? Just because it's like, it's research. Even if I'm not going to do it, I like to understand it.
Right.
And whether I agree with it or not, I still want to understand it as much as I can. And one thing I got to understand real quick, and part of it I think was the coaches, because that's the real meat and potatoes is who's disseminating the information. And Orange Theory they couldn't, I should say, my singular experiences, they couldn't manage somebody like me when I said I can't run and I can't do explosive plyo-based stuff. And they're like, well, just try harder. It's like, no, you don't understand.
Right.
I can't do it.
That'll just break it faster.
Things will break, and CrossFit, some CrossFit, like I love CrossFit Wilsonville and LO over here too, but CrossFit Wilsonville, I know a few of the coaches down there. They are phenomenal coaches. They're also a CrossFit. I look at they're great coaches first. So you have somebody walk in there and be like, oh, I've got a cervical fusion of C3-4. Awesome. You're not putting a barbell on your back. Right. But you go to another gym where it's like, hey, cupcake, suck it up, put the bar on, do the fucking squats. Like that's the last thing they should be doing.
Right.
And do it really poorly so we can film you and somebody can make fun of you on YouTube.
Which also happens, the fitness shaming. But to the Peloton and the Orange Theory side, it's like, I mean, there's only one way you can spin a bike. There's only one way you can, when does that become either?
Well, it's low impact. I mean, it's a very clever solution that they've delivered. And like I said, the
barrier to entry is really low.
Yeah.
But then also at the same time, how long is that going to work for you guys? I mean, you probably
17 seconds.
But you probably would get benefit out of it. Any fitness is going to be good fitness, right? To your point, it's like,
for sure. Yeah.
Jump in those classes, you feel good. It doesn't matter that it's maybe not the holistic thing, but I did something which is better than zero.
Except that the only problem with these is you have the number of meters I went on them. So the nice part about having a bike doesn't tell you how far you've gone is you don't frickin' know.
How far did you go? Yes. Well, but if you can't measure it, you can't change it, right? And
I know.
And there's a little bit of that accountability. There's also the nice thing about the Peloton side. This is not a Peloton commercial by any means, but it's like that you can be, and the Group X class, you can be anonymous. And for some people, the back row of class is the best place for them because they're afraid of being exposed, maybe with competency, maybe with their fitness level, maybe with just their personality. They don't like to be front and center, right? And so those spin classes, for example, stacked in rows. And if you're a slow, big, dumb mammal, hey, I'll take the back right corner for 1,000. Thank you very much. And I'm good.
I went with the one next to the door because then it smelled the least.
I thought you could leave early that way.
That too. And I think I was part of the problem, not part of the solution.
On the odor?
On the odor and the leaving early.
Starting a trend, not the kind that you want. But that ability to be anonymous is what built the big box gyms, right? Everybody goes in, they do their own thing.
Ooh,
you don't have to be.
Okay, great concept. So I mean, we've talked about benefits, small group training, but is there a little bit of a social barrier? I don't know. These guys I mean, again, you're more, I love
hide.
this gym, but you can't hide here.
You can't hide.
You can't go to the corner and do curls.
Well, you can, as long as you're not in the squat rack. But no, that's a good point.
We'll kill you for that.
It's people are afraid to step in because they're afraid of being judged. And what they don't understand is, yes, you're going to get that in some places. I'm sure that the more aggro side of some gyms is going to do that to where they're going to shame you into either getting in line with the rest of the crew and figuring it out. But to me, that's kind of click culture, CLIQUE, not like, click like TV.
Yeah, I got that.
You're right. Yeah, click culture. But it's click or that kind of that bullying and
Mean Girls.
Mean Girls. Yes,
Mean
fitness
Girls.
shaming. Right. It's like that kind of bullshit. Don't fly. And you've seen it firsthand, and your son has seen it firsthand. There's kids that will come in here and think, oh, there's a high school weight room, or this is and grown-ups or legal adults that'll come and be like, cool, I'm going to come in and flex and be try to weight room intimidate somebody.
Would you say flex, bro?
Yeah, flex, bro.
I'll flex on you, bro.
They're flexing hard, but it's like we've all kind of been around and we've seen the circus and seen behind the curtain. That fucking bullshit does not fly here, and you're going to be asked to leave. And it's like there's a lot of places like that have that kind of community where it's like, bro, we don't need to see. Nobody's impressed. Like literally, nobody's impressed, and that's not something to chase. If you want to go chase it, I can literally give you 2 gyms within 3 miles from here that'll be perfect fit.
Let me give you good guys' number.
Let me give you their number, right? But that's also hard to find because that type of mentality of you guys aren't really like jumping on social media a ton, so when people start to go looking for stuff,
I post some barbecue every now and then.
You do post some very good barbecue every now and then, but it's like you guys, it's like your demographic, it's kind of hard to get in touch with unless it's one-to-one or some type of relationship.
Right.
Yep.
Well, I think, having a place that has an inclusive attitude, any type of group, I really, I really have a lot of admiration for that. Even, the local high school program, you and I have spoke about it quite a bit, but the one thing I will say that they did absolutely right, little Ryan Bertelsen is a roly-poly 6th grader, I think or maybe 7th grader, when they, the high school program walked the youth football through a game and through the locker room, and he said, "Oh yeah, come on down to the weight room. You guys are right across the road. Come over anytime." And it's like Brian and Ryan said, "Oh yeah, I want to do that." I'm like, "Okay, we'll kind of see how this goes." Literally walked down in there, and I was like, "Here's a 7th grader,"
yeah.
And I will say Shep did an outstanding job of being inclusive. It basically said he looked at me and he goes, "You want to come pick him up in an hour?" And I said, "Right on," and that's the most important thing is get somebody in the door and make them feel like we want you here.
Yeah, I mean I try not to. I try really hard not to judge other people's methods, but that's one that I can't keep my mouth shut on because it fucking pisses me off that you'll have somebody, and Nate's gonna love this. Nate's like the celebrity today.
Yes.
You have somebody like Nate that walks in, and if you look at the equipment here, right? If you just took a picture of the facility, and there's a million facilities like this, you look at it, man, it's intimidating. Like, right. Fuck, that's a squat, that's a big rack, that's a lot of dumbbells. Everything's black.
It's a bunch of iron and mats.
Right? It's like, god damn, but
it's no fuzzy blanky place.
No, and it's not. It's not my favorite color, purple. It's like it's not. It's a. Well, especially right now, it's a very sterile environment because of COVID. Right. But it's not an easy place to enter into if you've never been in, you don't know anybody, and just walking in cold. It's like, man, just the equipment itself is like, oh boy, right. I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
And then you get the if that culture is built around that too, of the kind of the judgment and the
bro culture.
The bro culture. It's just like I have no fucking time for it, yeah. and it drives me nuts because it's like that's the biggest battle I think that people fight, and that any gym owner or coach or thing is fighting if they're worth a shit is. And I'm not going to sit here and flame people directly, but it's like you can go on Instagram or into their gyms and you can see they're like, you're a bitch because you didn't get off the couch today. That's your opinion.
Well, some of us like to be abused like that shit.
to the point of the boot camp thing. Some people like boot camp, right? They want to be screamed at. They want to be made to felt small so they can pick themselves up and go. That's also super not constructive in my personal opinion.
I got a buddy that just absolutely loves go rucking because they just literally will go and beat the snot out of them for 24 hours. And, he wanted to be in the military, but it never worked out for him in his life. And for him, it's providing something. And
scratching that itch.
Yeah. And he said, "Do you want to go?" And I said, "Nah, I've had my fill, man."
Done it.
Right. I got my fill. And that's where it's kind of like, how many people are like that buy into it, right? And it's like, awesome. That's super cool that he found that which is great because it's his thing, and and it speaks to him. How many people are walking into a place and get a taste of all sorts of fitness because of one fucking asshole who sits there and is like, "Hey, you showed up 10 minutes late for class, whatever, here's your punishment." It's like, man, fuck, they were in traffic because they have a job and they have 3 kids. You've been in a fucking gym for your entire professional life. Yeah. Grow up.
Well, and I think, the punishment and also just sort of the flexibility here where if you need to do a 30-minute workout and get the hell out the door, do it.
Better than zero.
Hey, wait a minute. What happened to the 30-minute workout? Did I quit too many days on
got
cardio?
too good.
I thought it was because I left on Tuesdays
You
and
got
Thursdays.
better, and you decided, I really like these people, and I don't want to go. But no, I mean, really, you find your people, and it's like, hey, we just did an hour together, and it was hard, but or even
Right.
in the Zoom workouts, y'all found your people, and you're online together. And even when she couldn't make the workouts, there's Jen Harvey dropping in for happy hour just to be connected with the people again.
Yeah.
She got
nail lady.
Right.
No, it's the nail lady thing. It's about forming the good relationships.
Yeah, and then how do you?
The best thing is you believe the videos of me working out while I was sitting there drinking.
All the tape delayed. It's like, I did this. I put it on repeat.
Wait a minute. He was wearing that shirt yesterday.
My kids showed me boomerang. I did 80 reps. I only did one.
No, I'm going to be the first person that's going to be happy to never be on another goddamn Zoom workout.
As long as everybody keeps kind of doing their part, and as much as can be controlled, that will hopefully be in the rearview mirror for the most part.
Well, I'm going to be in the front of the line getting the jab. So,
Yeah. But the thing is about the Zoom workout, it does work, and maybe it worked better for our group because again the relationship was already there.
The foundation was there.
I mean, if you're starting from zero, oh boy, that would have been a stretch. But like the first two, I didn't have the camera right. I just didn't have
my lighting was terrible.
It was, I think it was starting to show more jowls. No, I just did not have my shit together, and I came out of that going, this isn't going to work. But then spent a little bit of time and kind of, again, got my area together, and instead of trying to do it with a phone, put a tablet up and
Right.
actually aim the camera right and
second tablet with the football game.
Also true. Well, hey, we do that in here. We got the two teams. You got workout on one, you got the game on the other, right?
There's nothing like taking your mind off the pain to watch bad football.
Yeah, but again, I think what the reason it really did kind of work pretty good is one, I think you were very clever about getting equipment out the door quickly, and
Try
again
to.
keeping that touch with people, and again you already had the. You have those relationships. I mean, geez, going 5 days without teasing Timmy, I'd be a mess.
Timmy and his mountain man beard.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the thing. But we built that over especially you. I mean, you've been here since the jump, and we've known each other a long time. Chris, you came in and within I would say half of one workout, figured out, oh, these are my people, and it's as though we've known each other for 20 plus years.
Yes, it is almost like we knew each other. But those first workouts, it was more like, oh my God, this hurts. When is it going to stop hurting? And turned out the answer was about 3 months.
Yeah, and it's really, and I tell people, I'm like, hey, 20 days, right? 20 workouts.
It's more.
It's because you keep pushing yourself. It's like you want to go harder.
When your Thursday workout still hurts on Monday, that's the sign.
Plus also that's where the BCAs can actually help. But it is a thing though, one foot in front of the other. You didn't worry about next Tuesday's workout at Thursday's workout when you just like, hey, just get done with this one and just go to the next day and just show up.
Well, and like Timmy was just great because we'd be sitting next to each other rowing, and he'd be doing his thing, and he's twice as fast and half the stroke rate, and I'm flailing around on that thing like
dying trout.
Yes, not a polar bear, kind of just a kind of ugly little grizzled bear, and
molting.
Yeah, and he'd just say, hey, calm down and do it a little more like this, and so the whole atmosphere is really helpful.
Well, and the peer coaching is a big thing too, because there are people. A lot of gyms hopefully have this, but it's where anybody that coaches here is not so much coaching to tell you what to do; it's they want you to learn it so that you can be of value to the other people who might be looking up to you. Because Nate, perfect example. I got no issue anytime you, Jay, Deanna, Shannon, anytime they want to correct somebody, I know what they're saying is right, because they know, because they got the experience. It's like, that's awesome. And it's also something nice for Jay to see, or, a Nate to see, because like, I'm new, they're normal, this isn't like, well, okay. They're all right. They're my kind of abnormal, but normalish, but that's somebody that, looks, breathes, and eats like me, that has this knowledge base, and I can trust that what they're telling me is correct. And then, that it actually takes a lot of pressure off the coach too, because it's like, oh, I know that people have competency, not doing something correctly fixable. doing something lazily with good form, that's a motivator. But the form is the big thing, and it's to keep people safe, right?
Well, I think actually, I mean, my bench was a great example. I hadn't benched much in the past 10
Bench
years.
is dumb. Leo's sitting at home right now clapping like, thank God, one more non-bench person.
And
haters gonna hate.
So I had what I thought was my max, and I couldn't get above it. And you were looking at me one day, and you just said, what you're doing is not going to hurt you, but if you want to do it right, you can lift a whole lot more. And that, I mean, I did 2 PRs that day.
Yeah, and it's just little stuff, right? And some of that comes with wear and tear and experience. Some of it comes from either getting hurt or seeing people get hurt. And then some of it just comes from individual mechanics. Your mechanics on a bench are going to be way different than mine.
Well, and I'm hoping that if I lose weight, that I still keep my belly big so that the lift is a lot shorter.
Keep that range of motion nice and low.
I've already got short arms. I need every benefit I can have.
the muscular tactical advantage.
He's down to 1.5 inches of vertical movement on that bar.
Well, and that's and actually it's funny because I know it's like one of the last things that you mentioned. We were kind of talking about where is that you got to be in the game long enough to win. Must be present to win, right? You tell me that all the time on the business side because I get frustrated about shit because it's like I can't control everything or variables that I don't have I'm not getting the return on the influence that I'm putting into it. It's really frustrating because it's like I'm very linear. It's like, oh, okay, see the thing, do the thing, but then other factors can get in the way. One of those that keeps you in this game long enough is not getting hurt.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
it's just like in business. You got to pick your spots to push.
Right, and know which valve, lever, whatever to turn or flip, or sometimes what thing to hit to get over that next domino to get to the next thing. But if you get hurt, it's all stop. All pause.
Well, yeah, and then there's the whole mental side of it is now am I really as excited to get after it again because I was 3 months when my elbow was jacked up or whatever. And I think that's back to the value of, again, this small group environment and the programming and the individual coaching. And, again, we talked about balance. You see we've had, shall we say, a few bros show up, and
yes, one has stayed because he's been converted.
No, but again about balance. Guys who just did bench press and they couldn't pull anything,
right?
And it's like, oh yeah, does your neck hurt? I wonder why.
Weird.
Yeah,
you have no rhomboids.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And again, again, back to the value of the programming is you kind of you'll tend to do what you want, do what you like.
Right.
Where all of a sudden it turns out that T-bar is actually a great tool for getting a better bench.
Yes, the T-bar, or in your case, I make you do cardio so that you get better at everything else. Weird how your cardio's gotten better and all your lifts got better. Not an accident.
Okay.
But that overall, it's like, yeah, you must be present to win, right? You got to stay in the game long enough to still be in the game.
Yeah, just old guys getting hurt, it just fucking sucks.
Well,
it's
everything
as
takes
simple
longer.
as that. Oh.
Well, you couldn't have told me that I could work out 4 days a week and not have an injury for this long. I mean, I'm going on 12 months.
Right. Well, coming out of your background, pre whatever evolution they're in now with their fitness, I mean, the military, it's like, ride it till it breaks. And then when it breaks, wait to fix it, then ride it till it breaks again. And there's no balance. It's you go as hard as you can until something literally comes apart.
When I got out in 95, so between 95 and now, there was a few moments of triathlon insanity, and then other than that, just chasing after kids. So,
and realizing that running is not fun.
Well, yeah. Well, the bad part for me is that I'm a good swimmer, a poor biker, and a worse runner, and so. By the time I got out of the water fourth, I got out of the water fourth, the entire field passed me on my bike, and they were there clapping for me when I crossed the run line.
That literally might be the clinical definition of a polar bear. It's like, I'm really good in the water, and you put me on that iceberg, and I'm just going to sit here. I'm cool. I'll just float. I'll wait till I get there. No big hurry.
Nope.
Swim to the next meal. Got it. Run to the next meal. Probably going to starve to death.
Yeah.
Well, and like everything else, I'm a cheap ass, and so my first triathlon,
frugal. I
did it on not a road bike, just a regular old mountain bike, but a cheap one.
Oh dear God!
And
that wouldn't make it.
And
better.
I had this moment because it was a 22-mile bike ride, and I had this moment at about mile 11 when this guy that weighed 450 pounds past me with half the pedal cadence. And I said, all right, I'm going to spend some money.
I've made a tactical equipment error here.
I need a bike.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, yeah, I mean, that's the game, right? Stay in it, figure it out, figure out what works for you. Keep going. Don't stop. Just keep rolling. I mean, that's, taking it from you guys, especially because, I mean, you are by far not the oldest ones here. Alice has everybody be well into her 8th decade, and she's just never stopped. And she feels like she's fitter now than she ever has been. I'm like, that's frightening because she's a fucking beast at 80.
Yeah.
And it's good, which is going to be exciting to see where you guys are at that point. Because I mean, we're considerably more efficient in our training and protocols.
Hooked to a machine.
Hooked up to a machine.
Maybe my brain will have been downloaded to the singularity, but I don't think I'm going to be here.
I don't know.
Choppy.
A little bit. That I'm telling you, man. There's some value to that, but then I don't know. I would miss the visceral, just like stuff. It's like, I get it. Like the mental side is great. And the mental training aspect is fine. I do like the mental, to the point of like doing some of those events that really, like the Go Rucks. It's like, it sucks. Jeff, my buddy, and I, we did Spartan and ultras and like big, huge, heavy things. Takes 6 hours to complete or 8 hours to complete or 12, whatever. It sucked, but it was awesome. And it's like, you get done with it. It's like, it's eating the elephant, but it's like, you get done with it and you feel great. But then also, I'm not exactly clamoring to go do it the next weekend. It's like I checked that list. I've checked a few of those things off, and I'm good to go.
You don't need anybody hitting you with a cattle prod every weekend.
No, I can do without a taser ever again. That would be fantastic. There are certain things you miss. You miss the team thing. You miss the shared suffrage. But there's good substitutes for that in here.
There's plenty of suffering in here.
There's plenty of suffering, but just finding that group.
Well, and this is what you do to go be able to do that when you're 60.
Hopefully, I'll let you know when we get there.
If you don't have a replacement knee.
Well, the nice thing about that is that I can do things with it that I couldn't do beforehand. I didn't row. I never sat on a rower once before I had it replaced because I couldn't do it. The way that it didn't work beforehand, couldn't do it. Or the skier, it was just it didn't work. I started rowing in rehab with my replacement because Todd had me on the rower doing strapless rowing to build my hamstrings because I wasn't allowed to put load on it. Right, so it's like, I learned how much strapless rowing sucks. I also learned how much how fun it is to get strong doing something that maybe not be traditional because I really like deadlifts, and it's like that wasn't an option. Still, by definition, RDL's fine, but traditional deadlifts I'm not supposed to do. I can't squat with loaded. There's certain shear loads you're not supposed to do. And I've got a couple people in here with replacement hips, same kind of thing. And they like to come in and be like, I got a replacement hip, I can't do them. I'm like, guess what you're going to learn?
Strapless rowing.
Strapless rowing. Trap
Dude,
bar.
That is a shit deal. Trading out deadlift for strapless. Oh, God.
But it was also therapeutic because it's like, I can put that exertion out and get that kind of anxiety and that bullshit out of me to where I have that pressure valve. You and I talk about that valve release. It's like I can go release that valve with that activity. Would I prefer to go run a Spartan? Yes. Would I prefer to go basically do anything sport related and play a game? Absolutely. Can't. Okay, well then you can either fucking quit and sit down and just be done, or sometimes get pissed and just fucking go after it, but just don't
Stationary badminton.
Yeah, that's also, isn't that called squash? Kind of like, or handball. It's like,
Nintendo Wii. What the hell?
Unless the kids were sitting on the couch and know how to do the wrist flick, but it's just the not quitting, right? It's like, it might suck.
Yeah.
You might get older. You might have to adapt. You can't just fucking show up and just bench and squat and go max heavy all the time. You gotta do some functional stuff. You gotta do kettle. You like kettlebell swings now.
I do like kettlebell swings.
You do like
particularly the big one,
especially the big one, right? And that was not something in your lexicon in the 80s and 90s.
No, it was not.
So there's mind opening things that can happen too when you let yourself.
And they're germ free.
They are germ free because I'm a little bit of a germ. I'm telling you, man, the COVID thing. For being a germaphobe and not wanting people to touch my things or touch me or breathe on me or it's like, yes, this is fantastic. Everybody's hopefully cleaning up their shit before they put it back. It's like, this is fucking awesome.
Well, do you have like a 55-gallon drum of the cleaning solution?
I have so much concentrate here. It's ridiculous. And that was before. I haven't bought any cleaning products since before this because legitimately there's probably 40 gallons of concentrate just because, mix it in, do the floor clean, all the stuff. It's like, this is great. I was ready. On the prepper side, I was super ready for the germ thing because beforehand I was it was all me. I'd spend an hour after every single class cleaning, because people weren't as great about it. Now it's like, awesome. You guys can be trained to clean up after yourselves, and you're doing it.
Dirty little secret.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and any gym worth its salt, the first thing you do when first somebody walks in the door, look at the bathroom, look at the gym.
Yeah.
How clean is everything, right? I mean, to the benefit of the big boxes, those bathrooms are always pretty clean because they got a full staff to do
They
it.
do a decent job considering how hard those things get hammered.
Yeah.
We could talk about some local, shall we say, fitness celebrities and their habits in big box gyms.
There's some things that better left unsaid, and I wish I could unsee. But people are gross.
Forever unclean.
Forever unclean. People are gross. They make gross things. Their body produces gross stuff. And the fact that everybody's kind of really attuned to cleaning shit right now, I'm like, this is fantastic. Let's keep this going after the vaccine comes through and just keep everybody.
Well, and whoever painted the handles on those kettlebells, like whatever that is a good coating because it has survived a number of innumerable washes.
Yes, with lots of things that kill lots of things. And, buy quality products, get a quality return.
Wuhan kettlebells.
Yeah, Timmy, we're talking to you here, buddy.
Timmy's knockoff
competition
kettlebells. Competition kettlebells. It's a competition to see which one actually stays in one piece and doesn't change colors. Yes, not all products are created equal. Also, why I buy the stuff I do, because it takes the abuse and stays in one piece. So big, that's a bit of a shout out. We talk about the rower, the skier. Dude, I've got at least. I think that's the lowest, the shortest number erg has got 4 million meters on it.
Whoa.
Right.
4 million?
4 million. And collectively beat up.
I was going to say, Clayton hasn't broke any of those, has he? Yeah.
No, he did break the older fan bike, which
that thing was fucked
which
up.
Brand name will go unmentioned. It is a top level brand.
I wouldn't hold it against it given the abuse that I saw.
But for those who don't know Clayton, like if you could visualize a silverback gorilla that was shaved, that would be Clayton. He is a freaking monster, and he broke the damn fan bike. Then I got the Rogue bike that has the transmission, the auto transmission belt drive.
Yeah, it's got a C100 transmission, have an old Ford in it.
Yeah, and it not even. It's like and what else you got for me, right? So it has been a nice thing. Is I will spend the money on the equipment because I don't want it to break, but it also turns into a more consistent experience.
Well, and I think we need to paint something on the belt because when you're really suffering and all you can see is the belt, there needs to be some entertainment there other than the one little thing that loops by again and again.
Like one of those flip card things where you draw it with your kids. And we should have Brian do that. We should have Brian come in and do like a little flip card thing just on that. That's a good idea. That's a good project for him.
I like that.
Awesome. You guys crushed it. It was awesome.